Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Step Up. We are so proud that you joined us today. I'm sitting here with one of my favorite people in the whole world, Coach Brian Osborne, the athletic director at Community Christian, and a young man. Well, I don't know if I can call you a young man anymore, Brian, but a guy. I met him when he was a young man, who has just made a great impression and been a great influence in the lives of a lot of young people. Uh, when I met Brian, he was a ninth grader at Brookstone in my weight training class, and we've been knowing each other for many years. He is. I'll just tell everybody he's like a son to me. Always has been, and I value his friendship. And he has followed God's call as a coach. Uh, Brian, one of the things that I need to mention is he started a football program at Calvary Christian. And he started with nothing except a dream, you know. And he built that program from the ground up. And I mean, that's the stadium, that's the bleachers, that's the press box, the lights, the scoreboard, the players, you name it. And he was the coach there. And I am proud to say one of my biggest accomplishments is I got to stand with him on the field in 2020 as he won a state title. And I think, Brian, am I right? It was you beat the team where you're the athletic director now. Am I right?
That is correct. We beat Community in 2020, and now I'm working there. So I can't hang up any of our memorabilia from that night in my office. But it is funny that I'm now working at Community. But the same thing, Coach Durden, you've been a huge influence in my life, and helped me to know who God was. I mean, it was at an FCA event that you were actually speaking at where I accepted Christ in high school. And just the journey along the way, you've always been there with me. And starting the program at Calvary was an honor. And it was one of those, like, I want this program to be built on making disciples for Christ and being able to win football games at the same time, but more importantly, trying to make disciples for Christ. I know that's what my calling has been. And that's what I'm striving to do each and every day.
And I am so proud of you to know you and to have a friend with the depth of love and trust that we have is just in the world today. It's very hard to find a man like that. So, but it's been great, man. And I'm just glad you're here today. And we have one of your friends. We have a distinguished guest today, Mr. Jeff Struecker, who, if you've ever watched the movie Black Hawk Down, that's the story of his combat mission in Somalia. And Jeff is, gee whiz, I don't even know where to start with all your accomplishments, but let's start with you won the Silver Star. You had, I think, at least 4 combat missions, one of them, which is one of the most storied in the history of the military there in Somalia. And you're the Ranger Hall of Fame. You were the top Ranger, which now we're going to talk about that today and how tough that is, man. I can't even imagine what you go through on that. But Jeff, we are just so honored to have you here today, man. It's everything. So welcome and thank you for stepping up.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. And I'm grateful to be on the show, but I'm really happy to be on this episode with a guy that I respect the heck out of, and that's Coach Brian Osborne. So thank you for inviting me to be on this episode with Brian.
That's exactly the way I feel about it. So, Brian, why don't you start off and you and Jeff start a conversation while I listen here. And let's just talk about your faith, your career, your family, all the things that matter, these deep issues that we as Christian men face in our society today.
Absolutely. And Pastor Jeff, you're one of my people that I really look up to and want to emulate and be able to. I'm all the time astonished at what all you've accomplished and what all you do all the time. So my first question kind of is talking about, or I want to ask the question, I mean, you've been in the Army, you've pastored churches, you've led all these people. Like, how do you find the time to be able to do that, but also be dad, be husband, be grandfather? How do you find that balance between wanting to go out and spread Jesus' name everywhere, but also be that family guy also?
Yeah. Wow. Great question. Thanks for throwing me a softball right out of the gate, Brian. I don't know that I do a great job of it all of the time, but it's always on my mind. And I think any good man that I know who's doing his best to love his family, work hard on the job, and honor Jesus feels pulled in three different directions, usually three different directions at the same time. And inevitably, you feel like, well, I'm not giving Jesus the time that he deserves, or I'm not giving my family the time that they deserve, or I'm not giving work what they deserve from me. And being a guy that was in the Army for most of my adult life, there were long periods of time where I was overseas and wasn't around my family at all. And I had to really work hard to make sure that my family knew, even though I'm 13,000 miles away, I'm still thinking about you every day. So this is before we had a lot of access to the internet, and I wrote letters often. I sent cards back home so that when our children were small, they had a letter in the mail from dad, or maybe I was able to make an occasional phone call from a battlefield just to tell them, even though everything is going haywire around me, you guys are still on my heart. And I watched a lot of my friends, quite honestly, most of the people that I worked with in the Army, their marriages and their families didn't survive. Mm-hmm. And I married my high school sweetheart, and we made a pledge to one another that we will not let the job, will not let the United States Army cost us our marriage. So whatever it takes, we're going to figure out a way to make this thing work. And most of that credit belongs to her for making it work when I was halfway around the world. But as you said, I try to, there's never a moment that I don't want to bring my faith into what I'm doing. And I've found, I used to feel like, well, Bible studies, preaching, sharing my faith, making disciples was a task on my to-do list. And years ago, and quite honestly, watching you help cultivate football players into young men helped me with this. But years ago, I stopped viewing it as a task to do and started viewing it as who I am and part of my nature. And I'm just going to bring this with me in everything that I do. And that helped me deal with a lot of the tension of honoring Jesus, giving my everything to work, and being a dad and a husband at the same time. And I still don't think I've got it right. Been married for almost 35 years and still got a lot to figure out. But I don't feel the stress today about these sometimes competing or conflicting areas of my life that I once did. There's much, much more that I could say. I'm trying to keep it real short, but that's the short answer to a really important question.
I'll tell you, Jeff, I think that in my career, we all three of us feel we're called. We feel called to be where we are. And so we pursue that call with all we have. And I think the regrets in my life that as I look back is I wish I had spent more time, especially with my kids, as a father and not just as their coach or, I wish that if I had it to do over, I would, I'd spend more time with my family and maybe prioritize that over being with some of these other guys like Brian Osborne. Yeah. How about you, Ozzy? You ever feel that tug?
Absolutely. Because it's one of when we're called in the coaching world, we're influencing, hundreds of kids on a daily basis, and you're pouring into them all day long. And then you're coming home and you're trying to find that balance of I still need energy for my kids also. I don't want to spend everything I have, I hate to say it, on other families and neglect mine at the same time. So I'm always trying to ask for advice on making sure I want to make my kids know that I'm dad, I'm there, I love them, and I'm going to be there to support them and help them throughout life to help them grow into who God created them to be. And I'm just always looking for advice on that, finding that balance, because I know it's a very difficult thing to do. But you are correct. It all starts with your spouse. I can't think of all three of our spouses. I know all three of them very, very, very well. And it's tough being military wife, coach's wife, being back there and supporting our husbands. But hats off to all of them.
Absolutely. I have the greatest respect for Rosie Osborne for a whole lot of reasons. Yep.
And that call is important. You know, that's one of the why in our lives.
Right.
Is the big question in it.
Yeah, Marty, I think looking at what you do for a living, I'm using the word what you do here, kind of your job. I don't like the language of job or work. I think for God's people, for men especially, God has put a call on your life. That call may be to coach high school football. That call may be to be a politician or a military leader. It may be to be a factory worker or a street sweeper. It doesn't matter what it is, but pursuing that call that God has placed on your life. When you go to work, and I'm putting go to work in quotes now, you're not really working anymore. Now you're serving God and serving the people that you work with by just simply doing what God has called you. That's what the word is here, called you to do. And by the way, you get a paycheck for it and get a chance to support your family doing it at the same time. And that's where two areas of your life blend into one. When you can say, I get a chance to get up tomorrow, do what God is calling me to do. I'm going to do it with all of my ability. And I know by doing it well, I'm honoring God. I'm honoring the people that I work with, but I'm also honoring my family by being able to make a living to take care of them. And it takes a lot of the stress off of one of those three areas, maybe even two of the three areas of your life, all at the same time.
I'm going to try to remember that to-do list. Yeah, it's not a to-do list. It's a heart.
Yeah,
fulfilling.
It's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to live out your call, whatever that call is.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Ozzy, you said your spouse. That's, man. I put my coverage with Miss Diane. You know, you've had her sweet tea before, right?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, you probably need some of that, you know. But it's everything, getting the right woman in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, Proverbs says it this way. It's better to live on the roof than be in the same bedroom. I'm adding the language, in the same bedroom with a contentious or a difficult wife. And anybody who's married to that person would say, yep, that proverb's absolutely true. Thank God that I had a chance to marry my sweetheart who's been by my side and really helping me figure life out for more than
amazing.
Almost 35 years. Yeah.
Wow. Y'all met in high school?
Yeah, sure did.
Can you remember the first time you laid? This is a question for you, Brian, and for you, Jeff. Can you remember the first time you laid eyes on her?
I absolutely can. I went over to visit. I was working with her sister, who's a little bit older. Went over to visit her sister because she had just been in an accident. And Dawn, my wife, came up the stairs, and I'll never forget her walking up the stairs, teenage girl, at her sister's house. And eventually that girl grabbed my heart and never let it go.
Wow. How about you, Brian?
I was in college, and I was playing college football and baseball, but I was also working in the mailroom and was doing that. And then Rosie started in January working in the mailroom also. And I was actually working when she came in to interview with the guy that was leading the mailroom at the time. So I walked in, I was like, wow, that is one beautiful looking lady that just walked in right there. And then we just started working together. And I was one of those two, like, there's no way she's ever going to like me or anything like that. But God worked it out. And I'm so thankful for it.
So it sounds like we all three were physically attracted to our wife. I know the first time I laid eyes, my first game I ever coached, that's when I first laid eyes on Diane. And I can still see her now, you know. I think about it. I actually think about it every now and then. And there's nothing wrong with being proud of the way you're.
That's right.
The physical attraction. That's part of it. Sure is. It's men. Wow. Well, we got that in common, guys.
Absolutely.
Be careful explaining that. Here we are. We may have an audience of 20,000 tonight, so I hope that Richard edits that right. What's your favorite verse, Jeff?
Man, I have more than I can start with. I have favorite books of the Bible. I have favorite chapters of the Bible. I have favorite stories in the Bible. I have some favorite verses in the Bible. And
Well, let us have it.
I could spend the next several hours telling you about them. Without a doubt, my favorite book of the Bible, and this changed for me over time, is the book of Psalms. As you said to the listeners, I spent a long time, 23 years in the Army. During those 23 years, I not only went to war in Somalia, but before Somalia, I went to war in the invasion of Panama and in Kuwait. And then after Somalia, I went 14 more times to Iraq and Afghanistan. I had a very solid faith the whole time that I was in the military. My faith really influenced the way that I conducted myself in the battles. But I learned to lean on the book of Psalms after going back and forth to Afghanistan and Iraq again and again and again. There was a period of almost 10 years where I spent more time overseas in combat than I did with my family in the U.S. And man, what I started to read, the books, the Psalms that I had been reading for years, for my entire adult life, they started to take on different meaning because I was reading a warrior like David who's alone and scared and on the run, hiding from King Saul. And man, those Psalms started to leave an impact on me in war that it's never had on me before. And to this day, anywhere in the book of Psalms, but a few Psalms specifically, those are the things that I hang on when everything else in life is going haywire around me.
That's awesome.
Give you two specific Psalms. If you're listening to this and you want to know where should I pick it up and what should I look at, go look at Psalm 18 and go look at Psalm 91. No matter what's happening in your life, you have those two Psalms on your left and on your right. You're going to be fine. Don't worry.
That's awesome. How about you, Brian? What do you lean on?
Mine that I try to remember every single day is in Ephesians, and is the body armor of God. Being a football coach, just making sure that, you have your helmet, you have your breastplate, your shoulder pads, you have everything just to help you be prepared for a game, but be prepared for the day. Because every day Satan's throwing something at you, and you've got to be prepared to be able to take it on and be defensive. But also at the same time, have your offensive weapon, have the Bible, have that ready to go, be able to combat anything that's thrown at you. So, that's what I try to lean on every single day.
You can preach that one. That is beautiful right there.
Marty, what about you? What's your go-to verses of the Bible?
I like Joshua 1:8. This book of the law.
I love Joshua 1. Heck yeah.
Meditate day and night. And I think it may be one of the few places in the Bible where the word success is mentioned. Mm-hmm. Then you'll have success, So I don't read the Bible as much as I should. But the times in my life when God speaks to me the most is when I am in the Word. My mom gave me I gave my mother a Bible when I graduated from high school. And on the last few months of her life, she gave it back to me. And she had written in that Bible, Bible studies, little notes, stuff like that. So I set that Bible by my desk, it's shorter. And every morning I get there early. And it's me and Mom and Jesus in there in that room. And it's some of the greatest moments ever to just read God's word. And knowing you're reading, it's your mom.
What a treasure. If it's got your mama's handwritten notes in there. Wow.
Held that Bible in her hand, praying for me. There's just no telling.
Yeah.
We, as Christian men, we don't need to neglect our spiritual lives. And the only way we can do it is we just read God's word. Mm-hmm. He speaks if we read.
Right.
But if we don't listen, we don't hear, right? Didn't Yogi Berra say something about it's amazing what you can hear if you listen or something? I forget. What was that?
That sounds like a good Yogi quote.
If not,
go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I'm saying if it's not as quote, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you this question, Jeff. When I was a little boy, my dad was a World War II D-Day guy. And,
Wow.
And Diane's
I
dad,
had no idea. That's incredible. Yeah. Wow.
Diane's father was in D-Day too. And we found out after we'd been married like 20 or 30 years, they were actually on the same beach.
What?
They never talked about it. So they were on the same beach and both got wounded and went to the same hospital, St. Lo, France. But that's not the story I want to get into. I asked my dad, with just a little young guy, about the war, I don't know why, just a young boy asking. And I asked my dad this question. I said, Dad, were you ever scared over there? And he said, what a neophyte question, right? He said, only once. And I said, when was that, Dad? He said, from the time I got there until the time I left.
Yeah.
Fear is such an enemy of us all. And I know you have, Jeepers, I can't even imagine how you face that.
Yeah, well, I don't consider myself an expert on much of anything, but I do have a lot of experience with two areas of life, fear and death. And unfortunately, both of them are because of the military. So if you're doing the math, what I mentioned just a few moments ago, I went to 5 different wars, 17 combat deployments to 5 different wars over the course of my Army career. And every one of them was different. All of them had their own unique challenges, and all of them, I experienced real fear. And I remember late in my career going back and forth again and again to war. And I thought to myself, isn't there some point where you're supposed to get over this fear? Isn't there a point where this isn't supposed to be that difficult anymore? And it occurred to me, you know what? It's every bit as difficult, the one that I'm on today, as my first combat tour. And the fear is just as bad today as it was the first day. Now, I have better tools to deal with the fear, but the fear is just as bad today as it was the first day. And that's when it occurred to me, there's a few things that are kind of unnatural about life. And war is one of those unnatural parts of life where men are not supposed to kill each other. Even death itself, if you go back and read the beginning of the Bible, it's unnatural. It's not part of God's original plan. So I got to the point of realizing, I think you're supposed to be afraid in war. I think it's supposed to be difficult. And maybe there's something wrong with you in the head if you're not afraid and if it's not difficult. The challenge for every man is when the fear happens, and that's not if, it's when the fear happens, the challenge for every man is, how are you going to deal with it? And really, the better question is, where are you going to go to find the solution to your fear? And what I've tried to show people, talk to people about, is the real antidote to fear is not being, Rambo and strong and bold and courageous. The real antidote to fear, the opposite side of fear, is actually faith. Because all fear comes from the unknown. Like, I don't know how this is going to turn out, or I don't know what's going to happen to me next. And faith says, I don't know, but I don't need to know, because I know the one who's got it all under his control. And if he's got it all under control, then it doesn't matter how it turns out. And faith is the only real solution to fear. Everything else is quite literally just putting lipstick on a pig, and it's all temporary. Faith is the only thing that can really deal with fear.
It's all we have, isn't it?
At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
I know that coaching is certainly not war. We've never had both.
No, it might feel like it when you're dealing with some contentious parents.
Sometimes, yeah, some different kind of bullets, right?
Yeah.
How do you deal with it, Brian? Do you? I know you get nervous before a game. I do too. Get scared, really. What it is.
Absolutely. Like I still, every time I'm coaching, I still get butterflies before the game. Coaches always make fun of me because we have pregame meals and I can't eat before a game. It's one of those. It's just that nervous part inside of me is like, what's about to happen, and just thinking through everything. So I still get that way. I've been coaching for 23 years now. And it still feels like the same like you, like going all these different wars. It's it's the same thing over and over again, but I still feel the same way every single time.
Masculinity is a topic in our society today that is totally misunderstood.
Absolutely.
And we have these words, toxic masculinity, which, golly, I think when there's times when only toxic masculinity, it's the only answer. I mean, there's a lot of times that's the only answer. But it's just a shame to me that we have lost what a man really is and what a man should look like. And we have a lot of posers and pretenders. What do y'all ever think about that, guys?
Just about every day. I really do. Because as a pastor, I get a chance to see, well, I don't get a chance. I unfortunately see the consequences of toxic masculinity or a lack of masculinity, manhood in the world, in the church, in society. But I'm going to tell you guys, true story. I had 3 sons. All 3 of my sons played high school football, and all 3 of my sons played high school for Coach Osborne. And one of them coached with Brian Osborne. And I more than once thought to myself, I'm glad that there is a man in front of this high school football team that is showing the kind of example of what it looks like to be a good man, a good husband, a good follower, a good father, a good follower of Jesus. And quite honestly, if they win a whole lot of football games this season or lose a whole lot of football games, it is not nearly as important as these boys get a chance to see a man like that in front of them throughout the football season. And I've said this to Brian privately, but I want to say it about him publicly. One of the greatest things that I admire about him is his character and his integrity, not just his skills as an athletic director or a football coach, but his character and his integrity. Because that's what you ultimately want boys looking up to one day.
I really appreciate that. It's one of those, as a coach, you're dealing with middle school, high school age kids that are asking all these questions about themselves, like what's their purpose, and trying to figure out how do I become a man? And you're trying to help guide through those years, helping these young men, young ladies learn who God created them to be, and show them what a godly man looks like. And you're on a daily basis, and you try and show them the good things that happen, and they also see the bad things and the struggles that you have. And I'm one of those, I want to be transparent. If I'm struggling with something, I'm not afraid to tell them I'm trying to find advice from other people, or this is going on, to show them that it's okay to be able to talk about these things and to grow. And that's how we do grow, is through our mistakes or through learning different things, that God puts these obstacles in your way to help you to grow and all. And it's just something that we're always working on every single day.
Yeah, I like the way you said obstacles. I think young men need a mountain to climb.
Absolutely.
They need an adventure. I know my father told me one time, he said, if I had to wish something on my worst enemy, it would be for him to have an easy life.
Wow.
Those are wise words.
That's profound. Honestly, if you think about it, that is very deep.
Yeah. Because when I'm dealing with these kids and somebody wants to accept Christ, and you lead them through the prayers and everything, then you tell them it's about to get tough.
Yeah.
Because Satan is about to come after you. And if Satan's not coming after you, then you're doing something wrong, because he's trying to get you away from Jesus. He's trying to get you away from the Father. So it's one of those, you got to be prepared every single day, knowing that Satan is going to be coming after you if you're doing the right things, which is going to create obstacles in your life. It's going to happen. So it's one of those two, you're trying to be honest with these kids. It's great you just accepted Christ. Proud of you. That's an eternal decision. You're most wonderful thing in the world. But just know life's about to get tough.
Yeah.
Being there with them through that.
Yeah. Honestly, Marty, as I think back to all of the great men, and I'm saying this very specifically, the truly great men in my life, every single one of them have the same thing in common. They've all been through great hardships and great difficulties. And instead of crumbling under those circumstances, they found the strength. Actually, Jesus gave them the strength for them to rise to the occasion, but they're great only because they've been through great difficulties and great hardships. So I think your dad's right. Like the guy who's never challenged with those difficulties could never be as great as the man that he would be if he had to face some great difficulties. Every knight needs a quest or a dragon to have to slay, because that's what brings out the true greatness in them.
Yeah. I've always referred to sports as crucible, you know. It's that fire that we put these guys through, and girls, you know, and how they react. We see these kids as coaches in a different light. It's not, we're not teaching them English or violin or whatever. You know, we try to create this sort of sanitized crucible where we see how they can react to obstacles. You know, make it tough on them, and be there to help them through it. You agree, Brian? Was that hard on you, man?
I hope so.
Yes, it was. But it's what helped grow me into the man that I am today. And like I said in the introduction, he's one of those pillars in your life. That's the strong father figure type that you can go to. Like, I have a strong father, but I also somebody like Marty in my life, let's say, is my second or third father. And he's somebody I can always call, and anytime he'll pick up and help me out with what's going on.
I actually feel the exact same way about you too, Brian. And your advice is always good. It's always great. Yeah.
Got another question for you, Pastor Jeff.
Fire away.
Let's see if I can throw another softball at you.
All right.
No, in the military, I know they do a great job in training you for the next step up, going from sergeant to major to lieutenant, or that entire order. And I know your heart and passion is making disciples for Christ, and I love that about you. But how are we going about as Christian men? How do we go about doing like the same thing, like getting somebody that's a lower level believer into the next, and keep going up as they get their ranks and higher? Like, because I feel like society, we're kind of struggling with that. We're seeing fewer and fewer of the John MacArthur's of the world and those types of Billy Grahams of the world. So how do we go about raising the bar, stepping up in raising that? Yeah,
that right there, by the way, is a very easy question to answer, but not very easy to do. There's a simple answer that's very, very hard to pull off, but it's not impossible. This past Sunday, I was just preaching. We're studying systematically through the book of 1 Corinthians, and we slowed down at 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, and I just looked at one verse. Haven't really done this, maybe once or twice in my life. One entire sermon on one verse of the Bible. And I said to people, do you know, in the original language, this verse is actually only 4 words long, and it's the same word twice. The verse in the original language, I'll repeat it for anybody who's not familiar with 1 Corinthians 11:1, is imitate me, imitating Christ. It's basically copy me as I copy Christ. And what I'm absolutely convinced that what you're saying is true. There is not a lot of men calling boys to greatness. There's not a lot of great men calling good men to something better. There's a lot of people that are just not exactly sure what to do or how to do it next. And I think to some degree, actually, I think for a lot, largely, this is because we've complicated this thing and made it far more difficult than it needs to be. So, Brian, you and I had some conversations early on, 2011, back at Calvary Christian School, when you were formulating a football team that didn't exist. And I basically said, what this school, what these parents, what these players need is just a man that they can look up to and watch this man living and be inspired by the way that this man lives. And what the great Apostle Paul was saying in this one verse with only 4 words is, I'm doing my best to follow Christ. And if you'll just simply follow me as I'm following Christ, the better that I follow Christ, the more you'll be following Christ. And the better that you follow me and the better that I follow Christ, the more that you'll be following Christ and following me. And if you'll grab somebody else and do it with them, then they're following you, following me, following Christ. And all of us are all heading in the same direction. And I really believe, and I'm saying this quite honestly to everybody in the audience, there's really only 4 words you need to know. Follow me as I'm following Christ. If you can say that to somebody else, you're already way down the road to making disciples. You're already on your way to making good men and good women who honor Jesus and are going to make an impact on their world. A lot of us, though, feel like, oh man, I could never say that right now because there's such a mess in my life, or there's so many things that I don't understand, or there's so many questions that I can't answer. And I'm like, man, I've been walking with Jesus for a long time and I don't know the answers to a lot of questions. Paul never said you have to know all of the answers. He never said you have to have it all figured out. He quite literally is just saying, if you've been walking with Jesus 5 minutes longer than somebody else, then you can grab them and show them how to walk with Jesus, because you got a 5-minute head start. And churches, and I'm going to talk to pastors now, pastors need to stop making it more complex than it really is. What Jesus did is just grab some simple fishermen and said, hey, if you guys will follow me, I'll turn you into fishers of men. And what the Apostle Paul is saying, that every man and woman listening to this tonight can hear, is grab somebody who's been walking with Jesus 5 minutes less than you have, and just tell them, hey, why don't you come and follow me as I'm following Christ, and we'll figure this thing out together. You do that, and it'll turn the world upside down, and you'll change a lot of people's lives in the process.
That is amazing. You know, I research as servant leadership. That's what seems like God really wants me to do in my life, and how it applies to sports and how it applies to our faith, because Jesus was a servant leader, right?
Absolutely.
And I've decided in the last few months, it's really not leading, it's following. You know, Jesus never said the word leadership.
Lead, right.
Yeah, but he's talked a lot about follow me. Follow me and I'll make fishers of men, just like you said, servants. So is it really what we're supposed to do? Is it leading? Or is it just what you said? Is it just following?
And follow in a way that other people around you can see you following, and invite them to follow along with you.
That's what I love hearing you just say, is the same thing as you're going through life with somebody. Bring them along with you as you're going through life, so they can see what you're doing correctly, what you're struggling with. Know that they're not in it by themselves. I mean, that's what a lot of people I talk to, they feel like they're the only one going through something. I'm like, no, like we're all going through it. You just might not see it from us. But if you're able to get there intimately with them, like those 12 fishermen, I mean, they were with Jesus for 3 consecutive years. And it wasn't the Pharisees, it wasn't the leaders of the law, or that was with Jesus. It was these ordinary men, but he used them for great things. And he can use every single one of us in the same manner, as long as we're willing to follow in his footsteps.
Yeah, almost everybody who's listening right now, if you think about it, most of your walk, most of your discipleship, if you want to use that word, has been caught. It's not taught. In other words, it's not some sermon that you heard, or it's not some Bible study that you sat through. It was actually watching somebody else's life that really, really left the impact on you. So what I'm challenging you to do is just go do that somebody did with you. Go do that with somebody else. And chances are you'll leave a far bigger impact on them than any sermon ever will, or any Bible study, or any program that they'll ever go through. Just grab somebody and invite them to watch you live out your faith, and invite them to live out their faith right next to you.
That is exactly right. I'm going to tell you, if there's anything anybody learned today from this, we're not done yet here, but from this podcast so far, that's it right there. That's where the name Step Up came from, you know?
Did it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you may not be perfect. Just get in the game.
Absolutely.
Get in the game, Brian. Make something happen. And that's what it is, isn't it, Coach?
Absolutely.
And sometimes those kids, have you ever said to them, I'm not afraid of you making mistakes. Just go out and give me an effort. Have you ever? How do you express that to your kid, Brian?
Absolutely. There are times like, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, you can. I promise you, I've never practiced there. I've never done that before. Like, if you get out there and work at it and do it, you're going to have fun out there. That the kid's like, I can't play corner. It's like, do you want to get on the field and play? Get out there and play corner. And they get out there like, wow, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. We always have these big fears, as we talked about earlier. And you think like, I can't do something. In reality, like, you can do whatever you want to do. You just got to go out there, be willing to, like Peter, put your foot out in the water, get out of the boat, and see what happens.
Yeah.
And put your faith in God, and you can get through it.
Every single human being who's ever done anything amazing in life, even those that are never mentioned in the history books, every one of them, there was a point in their life where they have never tried it before, and they were just as scared as you are about trying it. And what sets them apart from everybody else in the world is they decided, although this is terrifying, I'm going to try it anyway. And then pretty soon, like Coach Osborne said, they just figured out, you know what, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can even enjoy doing this. And eventually they did stuff that we write history books about. But there was a moment that they had never, ever tried it before and were just as terrified as you are. They just decided, I'm going for it. I'm going to step up and I'm going to give it a try. That's my soundbite for you to use, Marty. You can use that one this week.
Man. You can bet. We'll advertise that one all night long because that one, amen to that one. We're about to wrap up here, guys. What would you like? This is another deep question. All right, you two guys. What do you want to be remembered for when our days are gone? You know, hey, one of my heroes, Hulk Hogan, died today. You know. And Brian, your namesake, Ozzy Osborne, I think he died this week too.
That's right.
Ozzy. We won't get in that one, but
they got a dog named Ozzy. Is Ozzy Osborne the dog still around?
Sadly he passed away.
So both Ozzies are gone now.
Yeah, doggone, the Aussies are going down. Be careful, Brian. What about that, guys? What kind of legacy do you want to?
I'm gonna let Brian answer that one first.
I just want to say that I just want people to know that he loved Jesus and he followed Jesus, and he tried his best to show others who Jesus was. And I mean, I don't care about wins, losses, Hall of Fames, or anything like that. I'm just hoping that I was able to impact a couple of kids along the way, and hopefully they can spend eternity with Christ. And hopefully that's how I can be remembered.
Wow. Brian and I don't think we've had lots of conversations together, but I don't think we've ever had this one together. It's funny because I've done lots of awesome stuff in the military. I don't care if anybody ever remembers a bit of it. I love my family and my friends, and I would lay down my life for them. But on my headstone, the only thing that really, really matters to me is exactly what Brian said, that people recognize that man loved Jesus. He did lots of other stuff and he had lots of other things going on in his life. But the one thing that he's known for is that man loved Jesus. And if that's all that people remember about me, I will consider this a life well lived.
Absolutely.
I am totally, both of you guys. I don't have anything to add to that. That's the biggest epitaph we can ever have. I love God. I love Jesus Christ. And I love my family, and that's it. That's all that matters. And we follow Jesus. That path may take us a lot of places, right? And a lot of those places will be what we didn't anticipate and what we didn't see. If we take up the cross and follow Jesus, there's a lot of missteps we'll make, and there's a lot of mistakes we'll make, and it'll put us in difficult places. But it will never lead us astray.
Yeah.
And that's what I would like to be remembered for, just like you guys. I'm honored to be sitting here with two of the best ever.
No, man, I am honored to be on this episode with Brian Osborne, one of the guys I respect the heck out of.
Me too.
As two men that are high on my list, I highly respect and want to be able to emulate my life after.
Brian, when we met, I got a last deep question. Did I have hair back in those days?
Oh, that is a deep one.
You had a little bit around above the ears going around the back, but bald on top.
Well, I love you guys. And I want you both to come back. How about that?
That would be great, Marty.
Would you accept an invitation
I'd
one
love
day to
to.
come back?
Sure.
And this is just three guys who stepped up. That's all we are.
Yeah.
And the whole message from this is there's somebody out there in this world that we can make a difference in their life if we just step up. Really, maybe step up and step away and let Jesus take over there. So, guys, I really appreciate y'all coming on. Jeff, tell us, I know you have 5 books that you've written, and I saw online. Where can we find those?
Yeah, I don't ever make a big deal about those, but if you ever want to know more about me, or if you're interested in any of those books, you can find it all online. Just go to jeffstruecker.com or search for Jeff Struecker Ministries, either one.
So there you have it, guys. You can find it. And Brian, tell us what's happening with you guys. You're about to start football practice, and community is.
Right. We're starting school up next week, and very excited at community. I'm not coaching football this year, just being the athletic director, but we're starting a lot of programs up this year at the school. We're starting girls flag football. We're starting cross country. We're bringing baseball back. It hadn't been there the last 3 or 4 years. Girls high school basketball is coming back this year. Adding golf, which I know is a love from Marty, in the spring. Yeah. We're trying to build the programs back up at community, and I'm very excited about what God is doing there.
Yeah, awesome.
If you're in the Macon area, I'm telling you, that place is that's where I'd send my kids. There's no doubt about it. I would want Brian Osborne have influence on my son and my daughter's life.
Absolutely.
Get them in community if you're in that area. And guys, thank you so much for being here today. And God bless you as you go your way. And thanks for stepping up.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.